Hi everyone, my method is Desuggestopedia. This method was created by Georgi Lozanoff, who believed that we set up psychological barriers to learning. We fear that we will be unable to perform, that we will be limited in our ability to learn, and that we will fail. He also believed that we may be using only 5 to 10% of our mental capacity. In order to make better use of our reserve capacity, the limitations we think we have need to be desuggested. Desuggestopedia is used to overcome some learning problems as it puts importance on desuggesting limitations on learning. It is the application of the study of suggestion to pedagogy. It has been developed to help students eliminate the fear that they cannot be successful and or the negative association they may have towards studying, and thus to help them overcome the barriers to learning. For the goals of the teacher hopes to accelerate the process by which students learn to use another language for everyday communication. In order to do this, more of the students' mental powers must be tapped. This is accomplished by desuggesting the psychological barriers learners bring with them to the learning situation. So trying to break down the thought that they can't do this or they'll never be able to learn a new language. For roles and interactions, the teacher is the authority in the classroom. In order for this method to be successful, the students must trust and respect their teacher. The students will retain information better from someone in whom they have confidence, since they will be more responsive to her desuggesting their limitations and suggesting how easy it will be for them to succeed. Once the students trust the teacher, they can feel more secure. If they feel more secure, then they'll be more spontaneous and less inhibited. For characteristics, there are 5 major characteristics that I'm going to focus on. The first one is that the course is conducted in a classroom that is bright and cheerful. Posters displaying grammatical information about the target language are hung around the room in order to take advantage of students' peripheral learning, and the posters change every few weeks. The second one is students select target language names and choose new occupations. So they basically choose a new English name and then an occupation, and they're that character when they're in the classroom. During the course, they create whole biographies to go along with their new identities as well. Third, the text students work from are handouts containing lengthy dialogues, as many as 800 words in the target language. Next to the dialogue is a translation in the student's native language. There's also some notes on vocabulary and grammar which correspond to boldface items in their dialogue. The teachers present the dialogue during 2 concerts. These represent the first major phase, the receptive phase. In the first concert, the teacher reads the dialogue matching her voice to the rhythm and pitch of music. In this way, the whole brain, both the left and right hemisphere of the students, become activated. The students follow the target dialogue as the teacher reads it out loud. They also check the translation. During the second concert, the students listen calmly while the teacher reads the dialogue at a normal speed. For homework, the students reread over the dialogue before they go to sleep and then again when they wake up. What follows is the second major phase, the active phase, and this is the 5th characteristic, in which students engage in various activities designed to help them gain facility with new materials. These activities include dramas, games, songs, and question and answer exercises. For views of language, this method believes that language is the first of 2 planes in the 2-plane process of communication. In the second plane, there are factors which influence the linguistic message. For example, the way one dresses or nonverbal behaviors that one uses affects how one's linguistic message is interpreted. For language skills, vocabulary is emphasized. Claims about the success of this method often focus on the large number of words that can be acquired while this method is used in the classroom. Grammar is dealt with explicitly but minimally. In fact, it is believed that students will learn best if their conscious attention is focused not on language forms but on using the language. Speaking communicatively is emphasized. Students also read in the target language and write in it. For students' native language translation is used to make the meaning of the dialogue clear. The teachers also use native language in class when necessary. As the course proceeds, the teacher uses native language less and less. For students' errors are corrected gently with the teacher using a soft voice. For example, when a student makes an error by saying, "how you do," the teacher corrects the error in a soft, kind voice. Indirect positive suggestions are made to enhance the student's self-confidence and to convince them that success is obtainable. For my strengths, the first one I found is that this method uses both the target language and the student's native language. For example, on assignments, it will be a column in the target language and then another in the native language translation. And I think that this is a strength because students can get lost in the lecture or in the lesson, and then they can look over at the native language translation and kind of catch them up. So I thought that that was a benefit. The second one is that a great deal of attention is given to students' feelings in this method, which is sometimes lacked in methods. One of the fundamental principles of this method is that if students are relaxed and confident, they will not need to try hard to learn the language. It will just come more naturally and easily. For weaknesses, my first weakness is the Desuggestopedia method is expensive and requires a classroom setup. Within that setup, it is focused more towards childlike situations. Older English language learners may not want to be treated in this manner, which I found to be a weakness because it could lead to a lack of motivation to acquire the new language for older students if they feel like they're being treated like a child. Second, there's an absence of assignments and quizzes, which I know this is controversial, but I did find as a weakness because this method emphasizes students learning in a relaxed environment, and that's why there are no tests and quizzes. Teachers grade students by their performance in class, but not the traditional test mode. I believe that it may lead to students losing motivation in learning because there's no pressure of a test or having to answer questions written down. Instead, they just show on their performance that they are acquiring the language. And for my questions, my first one, as all handouts have a translation in the native language, do you believe the students are acquiring the target language or are they constantly referring to the native language translation? Should there only be native language translations for a small portion of the year and then it moves into strictly target language only? My second question, this method suggests that students will acquire the language easily and that students do not need to try hard to learn. Instead, it will all come naturally. Do you find that to be true if the students are not actively taught the language rules? Like, will they pick it up easily and quickly if they're not learning all the language rules? Why or why not?